Hello and welcome to the Green Pill. I'm Kevin Owaki, and this is the podcast about public goods and regenerative cryptoeconomics. Today's episode is with Santi Siri, who is the founder of Proof of Humanity. Very, very excited to have Santi on the podcast. He is a source of relentless optimism and innovation in the Ethereum space, and especially regenerative cryptoeconomics. I see him as a crusader for sybil resistance and UBI. As a founder of Proof of Humanity, Gitcoin has a relationship with Santi Siri where he is exporting sybil resistance into Gitcoin. And we were one of the first integrations into Proof of Humanity, which is a sybil resistance mechanism that is Ethereum native. Proof of Humanity is a sybil resistance mechanism as its base layer, but they've also launched UBI, which is a token that is streamed to members of the Proof of Humanity registry every second of every day and provides UBI, upon which there's actually dozens, if not hundreds of people that are relying on for financial support. So using Ethereum to solve poverty, using Ethereum to solve sybil resistance, and to create a more digital democratic world. That is regenerative cryptoeconomics. And I am so excited to bring you Santi Siri, the founder of Proof of Humanity.
So, you've got some money, but how are you going to use it? You want to spend.
You, me, shopping, now, bro.
When you know you should be saving.
You'll never buy a house at this rate.
But what if you could spend and save at the same time? For the enlightened kind, with inquiring minds, a new world awaits. Set yourself free with completely flexible, self-repaying loan technology. Supported on desktop and mobile. Seize the power of ALCHEMIX, allowing you to spend and save at the same time. Leverage your wealth without risk of liquidation. Take out a loan that repays itself. By using yield from your deposit to pay off your balance, your only debt is time. What was once inconceivable is now within your grasp.
You're winning some.
Bankless is proud to be sponsored by UNISWAP. UNISWAP is a new paradigm in asset exchange infrastructure. Instead of a cumbersome order book system where trades are matched with other humans, UNISWAP is an autonomous piece of software on Ethereum that lets you trade any token at the current market price. No human counterparties or centralized intermediaries, just autonomous code on Ethereum. Input the token you want to sell and receive the token you want to buy. The UNISWAP Grants program is accepting applications for grants. Do you have something of value that you think you want to contribute to the Uniswap ecosystem? No matter how big or small your idea is, you can apply for a unique grant at uniswapgrants.org and help steer Uniswap in the direction that you think it should go. Thank you, Uniswap, for sponsoring Bankless.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am here with Santi Siri, the founder of Proof of Humanity. What's up, Santi?
What's up, Kevin? A pleasure to be talking with you, my friend.
Yeah, likewise. Tell us about Proof of Humanity and what you've been up to.
So Proof of Humanity isn't even a year. We launched the protocol in March 2021, so it's been quite crazy since. It's a sybil-resistant protocol for formalizing human identity on the blockchain. And on top of that, we're doing a universal basic income cryptocurrency called UBI. And ever since we launched this project, it's been quite a roller coaster for us. It's a nice team involved with some folks coming from the Kleros team, which is an arbitration system built on the blockchain, and some folks coming from Democracy Earth, which is a foundation that I run, trying to research democracy for the information age. And it's been quite a thrill to launch something like this. And so far, the registry keeps growing. More people keep joining from all over the world, and especially a lot of people also from Latin America, especially, because many of us founders come from there.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So it seems like, from me being familiar with your work, I originally knew you through Democracy Earth, where you were researching democracy for the information age. And I guess, would it be fair to say that you discovered the opportunity for Proof of Humanity through that work?
Yeah, pretty much. Like when we started Democracy Earth was after the experience of doing a political party in Argentina, the Partido de la Red, or the Net Party. And we started building technology, trying to figure out what it takes to build a democracy over the internet. What are the big hurdles? And we kept doing pilots of democracy all over the world. We have done pilots in Hong Kong, in Tunisia, in Spain, in Mexico, you name it. And quite clearly, one of the killer aspects of this, or choke points aspects of these pilots was whoever runs the registry of voters, whoever gets to decide who gets the right to vote, pretty much can tumble the election. So pretty quickly we realized in some of the pilots we got civil attacked by a single IP coming from China in Hong Kong, sending like apparently hundreds of thousands of fake users hijacking or shadow referendum to elect a mayor for Hong Kong, which was done in Telegram. Or in Argentina, we've done a pilot and also like the Workers' Party suddenly injected a lot of fake accounts into the system. So the problem of identity clearly became very relevant. And like Edward Snowden once said, identity is the one vulnerability being exploited across all systems. So it was really interesting to converge into this conversation around proof of humanity. A lot of folks were interested into researching that particular problem, including Vitalik himself. And that led to the creation of the Proof of Humanity protocol, which we launched in March last year. And it's a very simple way to try to figure out how to create human identity without relying on a big brother or a centralized authority that could really influence or change the registry. So it's interesting because now, since we launched, we have been able to actually run a democratic DAO. The Proof of Humanity DAO is one person, one vote. It uses liquid democracy, so you can delegate your vote to someone else. And it's one of the first democratic experiments running on Ethereum.
Yeah. I think that there's a huge opportunity, Santi, to move a whole ecosystem from one token, one vote, or one CPU, one vote schemes to one human, one vote. And what I just have a ton of respect for with Proof of Humanity is that you've solved that foundational building block. And that enables not only UBI, which is the natively integrated cryptoeconomic mechanism in the Proof of Humanity DAO, but also for what I'm working on with quadratic funding at Gitcoin Grants. It's a building block of what we're doing with quadratic funding, because quadratic funding falls apart if you can make up new identities and vote with the mechanism. So first off, I just want to make sure that we pinch and zoom on that, and that the audience can recognize how much of a foundational building block for upgrading digital democracy, civil resistance, and identity is. But I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the UBI side of the coin with Proof of Humanity. How does that work? I think that it streams to my wallet every block, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. So the smart contract of the UBI token is actually very simple. It's once you get verified on Proof of Humanity, that means that your address, the address that you have used for Proof of Humanity, is able to start accruing UBI tokens at a rate of 1 UBI per hour. So you start accumulating actually in real time. The token gets streamed into your wallet. So it's like a fraction of UBI per second, or you will see it on MetaMask updating every 15 seconds or so when every new block is changed to the blockchain. And the challenge with the UBI token, of course, is to generate different use cases, to generate utility, and to generate an ecosystem around it that helps reduce the supply in order to help everyone that is accruing UBI through Proof of Humanity. So now we have different NFT projects that are doing different kinds of games that are burning UBI. We have a couple of wire and vaults that accumulate Ether and generate some yield with that Ether, and we use the yield to burn UBI tokens. A wide range of projects that are coming up and being developed that are trying to burn UBI tokens. And I think that as we become much more connected to the ecosystem of Ethereum as a whole, the whole narrative around UBI will get very, very interesting. Vitalik himself, he actually bought a huge chunk of UBI tokens with his Shiba Inu tokens and burned them. He actually burned almost the entire supply of UBI available on Uniswap, which was pretty cool. And then he started actually accumulating. Now he's one of the UBI whales himself. So it's exciting to see that Ethereum can start addressing, this social challenge of, the thing about UBI that excites me the most is that it can really hold the promise of, addressing poverty or addressing people that are really, trying to meet their daily needs. And this is a way that Ethereum can become very helpful in society.
Right. And that's one of the things, as you know, I'm interested in exploring on this podcast is ways that Ethereum can create positive externalities for the world, and not just for the world, but like the everyday people in it. And UBI is this exciting mechanism because once you get people able to pay their rent, pay their electricity bills, pay their groceries, they can focus more on the self-actualization layer of their human needs and less on just making ends meet. And I think that that's a really interesting mechanism for creating more human flourishing. Is UBI of the proof of humanity variety the largest UBI experiment in the world? I just think it's so crazy that bureaucrats and governments for so long have been talking about UBI, and it seems like you've created one of the most successful experiments without the backing of a nation state or funding it with taxes.
Yeah, I'm a bit shy of making a statement like that, but if you look into the academic literature of experiments of UBI being done since the 70s onwards, there's not a UBI experiment as large as this one. We had over $50 million worth of UBI being transacted with the token. It's going to be 15,000 people very soon joining the Proof of Humanity registry. It's not a lot if you compare it with traditional Web 2 systems. But with other decentralized identity systems, I think it's growing in a very nice way. And it's been going on for almost a year now, and it's exciting to see where this moves forward because of the incredible support of the entire Ethereum community.
Amazing. So can you paint me a picture of where this is all going 5 or 10 years out? What do you think that UBI proof of humanity ecosystem will have evolved into?
Well, definitely, I hope that we are able to reduce some of the hurdles of what it takes to do a proof of humanity profile. Like right now, the deposit requirement is prohibited to a lot of people. We have a crowdfunding mechanism, but of course, we want to make that way more efficient. Hopefully, with scalability layer 2s, we'll be able to make the whole system also work with much more friendly fees. And trying to really start talking in the range of millions of users and not just thousands of users. And then there's the whole ecosystem around UBI. I'm very supportive of projects out there, either metaverse projects or NFT projects or DeFi projects that are looking into ways of using their fees to burn UBI. So any project that you start burning UBI with automatically becomes a project that has solidarity with everyone receiving UBI in the first place. So it's very easy to turn in a video game or any kind of entertainment or any kind of DeFi system into something that has solidarity with the people. The second it uses fees to burn this token. So I hope to see an ecosystem of applications and cool shit built around the idea of burning UBI because the effect that it will have on the users, the embracement that it will automatically receive the love of the entire proof of humanity community, and I think that it's a great way of making our entertainment hours a little bit more purposeful than just playing a game and that's it.
Amazing. I want to pinch and zoom on the UBI bit because I know that there's people whose lives have been changed by UBI today. I asked you the question of where's it going to be in 5 or 10 years, and I think that it's interesting to think about millions of users using UBI, but the seed of that legitimacy for the millions of users story is the thousands of users who are using it right now and receiving, I think in some cases, on the order of $1,200 per month, like enough to pay their rent and really accomplish the goals of UBI. Is that more or less accurate?
Yeah, I mean, in Argentina, where I come from, of course, there's a nice community over there, and a lot of people are suddenly actually using Web3 for the first time in their lives through proof of humanity and through researching and wanting to learn about UBI. So it's an exciting, onboarding mechanism for crypto as a whole, where you don't need to have a bank account, you don't need to go through an exchange in order to get onboarded into something like proof of humanity. Proof of humanity gives you like a little bit of crypto and a little bit, and an account and a Web3 account, and you're ready to go. And that's a nice way of, starting onboarding mechanisms that are not relying on traditional exchanges or traditional fintech or TradFi, traditional finance, which at the end of the day, a lot of the onboarding of crypto today is still reliant on the traditional banking system. So it's been a great way to onboard new people to crypto for the first time that are not coming, maybe are not even bankerized, but through this mechanism, they have a little crypto to start spending or to start experimenting with the different systems that they will discover on Ethereum. And the one incredible thing about UBI, even though, the founding team, we are all people that have been living, in a nomadic life internationally, but actually our largest community right now is Spanish speaking. Has been most impactful in Latin America. Of course, we have users all over the world, but the fact that it's able to reach a region that desperately needs crypto, desperately needs an alternative to the financial system or to the corrupt institutions in our countries, I think it's a great statement that UBI is impacting where it's needed the most, and I'm hopeful to see this growing over the years. If you ask me on a 10-year or 20-year time frame, or maybe 30-year time frame, a couple of decades from now, I think crypto has the potential to help everyone anywhere in the planet to be able to meet their needs on everyday life. Like we can see crypto delivering global UBI for everyone, and to me, the exciting thing about this project is that it's also a level playing field technology. The person in Madagascar or Mozambique or in India receives the same amount of UBI than someone in Connecticut or London or LA. And this level playing field technology is a miracle of what we can do with these crypto networks. And that's the challenge, how we can grow and make sure this is like everyone is welcome here. Absolutely everyone. And that's the biggest challenge we face.
Yeah, I mean, I think the possible scale of this is just incredible, given that anyone can participate from anywhere across the world. So I want to drill in and really put a visceral note on this, because I think that you can talk about the system and you can talk about the numbers until the cows come home, but until you really talk about the examples, then I think that sometimes it's not completely visceral for everyone. But you were recently in Buenos Aires with Vitalik, walking around, and I know that there's been inflation in Buenos Aires and the pandemic. And can you tell me what it was like to meet the users that you're affecting with this system and to be walking around with Vitalik? I bet he's quite the celebrity down there.
It was wild. I haven't been in Argentina since 2 years ago, since the pandemic started. So suddenly I go back to my country 2 years later after the pandemic. And it turns out that the perfect combination of high inflation, capital controls, subsidized energy, combined with the pandemic that apparently gave a lot of people time to learn about this stuff on YouTube, combined with the bull market of 21, suddenly I arrived to Buenos Aires. I'm flying there to help Vitalik to, to have the best possible experience as he learns about my country, and hopefully my country to discover this amazing human being Vitalik Buterin is. And the first thing I realized very quickly is that Vitalik has Mick Jagger status in Argentina. Like crypto became really, really, the adoption of crypto really accelerated significantly. I'm used to seeing in the developer community, in the hacker community of Buenos Aires, I knew that we already had a lot of developers and a lot of hackers building on Ethereum. But suddenly I discovered that everyone, under 30 years old in Buenos Aires is using crypto. And they're using it because they need it, not because it's a theoretical quirk or an opportunity to, make more money. They use it because we don't have a currency. We don't have a legal ability to buy US dollars. We use it because we need it. We desperately need to use Ethereum. We desperately need to use stable coins. We desperately need to use this technology for survival. And the adoption of crypto in Argentina is insane. And Vitalik, for the first time, I talked about this with him a lot. It's the first country he visits where he cannot walk 1 or 2 blocks without being recognized and someone asking him for a selfie. Like suddenly he discovered a kind of celebrity status, or he unlocked a level of celebrity that is worthy of a Hollywood star. And it was very wild to see that. He was actually able to meet a former president of Argentina. He met the city mayor of Buenos Aires. He did an event that sold out in 3 minutes for 1,000 people. It was an incredible event in a beautiful theater in Buenos Aires, and it was wildly successful. He had a lot of proposals, and he even had a proposal to visit a slum. And he chose to go to the slum. And we went to this popular neighborhood in Buenos Aires, and we walked around with Vitalik. Even some left-wing activists joined the conversation there. So he made a wide range of politicians. He really saw the reality of Argentina, not just the nice places for the tourists. And he was really fascinated by this, the billboards in the streets of all of the startups offering crypto. He's discovering a new level of popularity. The affection and the love of the Argentines for him was enormous. The media went all crazy around him. Television, you turned on the TV in Argentina during that week, and a lot of TV channels were talking about him and who he was. So suddenly a lot of people learned about Ethereum, if they haven't already, for the first time during that week. And it was an incredible experience. I think Vitalik went back. He kept on traveling his nomadic life, and he went back very happy from his experience in Argentina. And I was mind blown. This is something that Vitalik said. You have El Salvador, where crypto adoption is top down. You have the millennial president pushing bitcoins through everyone's throat. But in Argentina, crypto adoption is bottom up. It's not a politician, but actually the people that need this and want this and are trying to explore. And there are startups being made. There are developers building stuff. There's a lot of users growing the adoption. So I was fascinated by my own my city, my own city and my own country. I wasn't expecting that level. I live in Madrid. I live in Spain. And it feels like here in Spain, we are 20 years behind Argentina right now. Like the level of adoption I've seen in Buenos Aires was crazy. And hopefully Vitalik had a great time while he was there.
Yeah, knowing Vitalik, I know that he's a little bit shy and he may have superstar status, but I don't know if he really wants to be a celebrity. So I think that must have produced some probably fun moments. I do want to talk about how you said that everyone under 30 years old was using it, and not because it was a theoretical thing, but because they need it, and that they don't really have a currency in Argentina. Do you think that cryptocurrency is more legitimate than the Argentinian government's currency? That might be a loaded question, but...
Oh, no, it's not loaded at all. It's 100% like that. Argentina doesn't have a currency. Like, it really doesn't.
Wow.
We all Argentines, we have grown with our parents telling us, never trust the Argentine peso. We have been, fucked over and over again, either through high inflation or either through the banks keeping our savings and suddenly devaluing the currency. This has been happening in Argentina for decades, if not probably centuries, since the country was born. And sadly, it's a reality that led to everyone is used to, when you buy property or when you buy a car or where you buy something relatively expensive, that's priced in US dollars. That's never priced in Argentine pesos. So it has always been unofficially like a bimonetary system, like where US dollars and pesos living together, even though it's not like the legal narrative coming from the government. And when crypto emerged, it was a natural fit. In Argentina, it's a country where you will speak about inflation with a taxi driver. You will, discuss prices and discuss the economy with absolutely everyone you know. We discuss the economy as much as we discuss about football. And it's really a wild country in that sense. So the fact that I think that there's a golden generation of developers right now, of engineers between 20 and 35 years old that have been embracing crypto like crazy. And that's why a lot of the interesting protocols and projects that are happening on Ethereum, a lot of those projects actually had Argentine developers behind them. If you look into MakerDAO or Decentraland or Kleros or Proof of Humanity or Open Zeppelin, Hardhat, all of these tools, it's this generation of developers who are the children of hyperinflation. These are the children of the convertibility that led to our savings being stolen by the government and the banks. And we grew up watching all these misfortunes, literally speaking, to our families and to our communities. And it's clear to me that that's why a new generation of developers embraced Ethereum like nowhere else in the world. And that's why a lot of interesting innovation is emerging from there. And I think it's a blessing in disguise. All of this economic tragedy that we have been living, suddenly, is leading to our country leapfrogging, in a very fast and aggressive way, the adoption of crypto. In the biggest highway of the country, the billboards around the highway, it's all about crypto startups, and some of these startups raise tens of millions of US dollars in funding. And these are not just startups like in the .com era that raise a lot of funding and have no clients. I went and visited some of these startups, and they are selling credit cards that do cashback in crypto. They are selling thousands, hundreds of thousands of credit cards per month. So the market is really there. People are really using this technology, and it's growing in an incredible way. I haven't seen this in Europe where I live. So it's to me, it's mind blowing the fact that crypto is impacting a place like that in South America in such a profound way that and you will see it on the streets. You will see it in the more and more shops accept stable coins as a way of payment. It's becoming a very common practice, and I think it speaks greatly about this technology. This technology giving people an opportunity where they need it the most.
Right. I think that's amazing validation.
Living a bankless life requires taking control of your own private keys. Not your keys, not your crypto. That's why so many in the bankless nation already have their Ledger hardware wallet. But the Ledger ecosystem is much more than just a secure hardware wallet. Ledger is the combination of the Ledger hardware wallet, the Ledger Live app, and soon the CL Crypto Life card powered by Ledger. The CL card powered by Ledger is a crypto debit card with powerful features like an instant exchange to fiat, where crypto assets are only sold at the moment that you swipe your card, and also credit from crypto collateral, where you can collateralize your crypto assets in order to get a higher credit limit. You'll be able to manage your CL card powered by Ledger inside the Ledger Live app, right next to all the DeFi apps and services that you're already used to using, making the Ledger Live app your one-stop shop for all of your financial needs. Go to ledger.com, grab a Ledger, and download Ledger Live to get all of your DeFi applications all in one place. ARBITRUM is an Ethereum scaling solution that's going to completely change how we use DeFi and NFTs. Over 250 projects have already deployed on ARBITRUM, and ARBITRUM's DeFi and NFT ecosystems are growing rapidly. ARBITRUM increases Ethereum speed by orders of magnitude for a fraction of the cost of the average gas fee. When interacting with ARBITRUM, you can get the performance of a centralized exchange while tapping into Ethereum's level of decentralization and security. If you're a developer who wants low gas fees and instant transactions for your users, visit developer.offchainlabs.com to get started building your application on ARBITRUM. If you're a user, keep an eye out for your favorite DeFi apps or NFT projects building on ARBITRUM. Many of your favorite apps are already live, with many more coming over soon. You can find these apps at portal.arbitrum.one, and you can bridge your assets over to ARBITRUM using bridge.arbitrum.io in order to experience DeFi and NFTs the way it was always meant to be: fast, cheap, and friction-free.
And one of the things that I don't know if it's coming across to the audience, but I've known you for years through your work with Democracy Earth. And before you had launched Proof of Humanity, I think that you were kind of like a niche star in the activist and digital democracy space as it was budding. And just so that the audience knows that Santi has been toiling and working on these problems for years, and the success is not accidental. I know that you've been working hard systematically to find and validate opportunities for creating more digital democracy and human thriving. And so one of the things that I want to ask about, Santi, is like, is this success, like, does it feel validating for you to have found this use case that's really affecting people's lives? And where did the optimism come from for you when you were toiling in obscurity and you were kind of like lesser known? Like, where did that drive come from intrinsically to really want to start to solve these problems before it was obvious to everyone in 2022 that there was really something here? Is there something more intrinsic that drives you?
Well, I think the optimism for me always came from community. To me, I have very fond memories of my first DevCon conferences. I remember in Prague when I suddenly opened the door and discovered, all of the amazing Ethereum community, and the fact of knowing that we're not building this alone, that we are all supporting each other, that we're all learning from each other's projects, that everyone had a very open attitude towards everyone else. And I guess, if I go back to the bear market years and, trying to figure out stuff and doing pilots here and there, what kept me going on is definitely the thrive or the will to learn from amazing people, and, a community that fosters diversity, plurality, ideological plurality, openness to discuss any kind of idea. And community was really important for me when trying to figure out what we were trying to do. And if you look into how Proof of Humanity was born out of a communal effort. It was the Kleros guys that were trying to figure out this problem as well and had an interesting technology to sort a key aspect of it. It was Vitalik himself joining the different channels and sharing ideas. A lot of researchers, the Radical Exchange community, all of the people that you keep meeting along the way. And I could give you a lot of names that you probably know them very well, of people that have been incredibly helpful, that taught me a lot. And, to me, the return of investment of working with these technologies, how much we get to learn and understand about the world. And then if we can push some code in some repo that actually makes it, that actually has some adoption, even better, because, it's a nice validation to the effort and the ideas that we have been trying to research for many years. So to me, now 2021 has been a very generous year, especially because of what happened with Proof of Humanity and UBI, and the fact that there's it's a growing community. Like when I think about what I enjoy the most about this project, it's not the price of the token, it's not the profiles registered in Proof of Humanity. It's the community behind it that blows my mind. I discovered very quickly that members of the community were crowdfunding funds for people that really needed the funds to get their profile on Proof of Humanity, or people that were doing NFTs to help burn UBI. And suddenly, to me, the mind-blowing thing about building with decentralized technology and crypto is that suddenly it's an idea being built by a small team. Suddenly all of these innovations get parallelized by the effort of a community, and ideas start appearing everywhere. And they don't just appear as an idea. Sometimes they even appear in final form. Someone has already developed a vault here or a contract there, and it's all this conversation, all of this incredible effort being led by a community. And I guess Vitalik probably feels the same way when he travels around the world and discovers the local community in every country. Must be a fascinating feeling to see a creation that you worked on very hard, writing the paper or pushing some code, and eventually discovering in all countries around the world more and more people embracing this idea and building stuff with it. And in a smaller way, smaller scale, with Proof of Humanity, the most satisfactory thing for me has been that. And I'm sure that you have lived through very similar things with the incredible growth that Gitcoin had over the last years, supporting the development of these public goods and of these incredible resources that we all of us then find ourselves using this to build the next interesting experiment.
Yeah. And there's one thing that I want to say about that is that I know that there are many founders that kind of grinded through the bear market and toiled in obscurity through the just basically years without extrinsic motivation. And I feel special type of a kinship with those people who have just kind of systematically tried to solve this problem. And one of the things that I really love about Web3 is that Gitcoin and proof of humanity are so complementary. And then I think about Giveth and then retroactive public goods funding and doing good and radical drips. And it just feels like we're building this pluralistic infrastructure for the public good where each of our projects can slingshot each other and we can all be successful. And to me, it's just such a beautiful thing to think about how deeply this could scale to help humans all across the world, but also how pluralistic it is. It doesn't rely on any specific project for all of the success that can happen. And so, I guess I'm wondering if your vision differs from mine at all. Like, what does the space of regenerative crypto economics look like, and how can we all help each other in order to build it?
Yeah, it's with Web3, I think it's kind of like I think I tweeted this recently. Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in Web3, what I found that has been incredibly critical for a project to succeed is where you fit in the greater puzzle of everything that's going on. Where you can make a contribution that is either able to compose with other projects or to leverage another project and contribute in a specific way that empowers not only your project but also the community as a whole. And that's the ethos of open source development. That's the ethos of building with a community, not caring about your code or intellectual property or stuff like that. I think a lot of that logic is rendered obsolete when you think about how we build these networks and these systems, and that's an incredible way of building things. At the end of the day, Ethereum is still a subset in the greater movement of open source and free software, and this has been going on since a couple of decades now. And it's just the fact that now we are, when we build with crypto, we're actually building institutions. We're building the institutions of the future, the way of coordination and organization that it can achieve planetary scale, and it can really impact, the planet as a whole. But we're doing it under a philosophy that is really not the philosophy of, American capitalism of the 20th or 19th century. It's a complete new way of understanding how we can create value, and it's completely overtaking every single other model of value generation out there, to the point that you have the largest venture capital firms today embracing Web3 as well, which means it's a cultural triumph all over the place. And in that regard, I'm very optimistic about what we have been, looking at what we have been able to achieve so far. It's amazing. But it feels like we are still a very small thing. When you walk around the street or when you walk anywhere in the world, there's still a world out there waiting to adopt or to discover these new technologies. So it's an exciting time to be in this space because it's still the very, very early days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is where the foundation is being laid for those, what did you say, 21st century native institutions? That's such a big statement, Santi. Oh my gosh.
I'm looking for big statements.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do see the foundations of it, but I think I'm trying to stay humble as we figure out the scalable path to long-term growth. And I think it's to me, it's holding those two opposing thoughts in my mind of how could this grow in order to be big and civilizational scale, while also staying humble about the problems that we hit day over day, which I know Gitcoin has plenty, but I don't want to say that others do as well. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to tell us about proof of humanity, regenerative crypto economics, your view on the world? What didn't I ask that you want to tell us about?
Oh man, I don't know. It's been a great conversation already. I think I'm excited about proof of humanity and the proof. Either if it's proof of humanity or if it's something else in the future, I don't mind. The fact that we are coordinating and building on Ethereum, the social Ethereum, I think it's going to be super exciting because we have seen on the Web2 movement the emergence of social media. And social media is incredible. It has given us a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a voice. Everyone is able to speak their truth, whatever that truth is. Sometimes not so much the truth, but everyone has a voice, and that's a democratic thing. But the exciting thing about a social Ethereum is that it's not about the voice, but it's also about impacting, the pockets of people, really transforming the economy, really transforming how we address society, not just from the ability to give people the capacity to speak, but also giving people the capacity to be financially included, the capacity to become, a member in society where their rights are recognized in a permissionless way, without requiring a central authority or without requiring, corruptible institutions in the middle mediating for our rights. And I'm excited to see the growth of the social Ethereum. I think that the next big chapter after DeFi and NFTs, I certainly hope it's the social Ethereum where we start building technology that starts looking to society, that starts really pushing this innovation and putting this innovation in the hands of everyone, no exceptions. And that's right. I talked with Vitalik about this, and he gave me his view of, in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, you have a lot of incredible technology being built, but a lot of that technology is only purely software driven and has no connection to society or to reality. And so you have a society where you have a lot of people living in the streets. You have a huge problem with homelessness. You have, people, facing very terrible realities in living right next to the greatest wealth being generated in modern time. So when Vitalik mentioned, was explaining me why he was supporting something like Proof of Humanity, he was telling me, I want to make sure that whatever technology we build is not blinded from impacting society, that we are actually able to push innovation and technology that helps make society and real life, for people a better place. And I think that the more we start thinking about social applications on Ethereum, that's going to be, very, very impactful in the same way that social media shaped the world in the last decade. I'm pretty sure that in the next decade, the social Ethereum is going to really transform people's lives.
Amazing. So let me run this quickly definition by you for a genre of cryptoeconomics that I've been working on, focusing on, which I call regenerative cryptoeconomics. So basically, cryptoeconomic systems that create positive externalities and are generally net positive, create balance and seek equilibrium, and also those that satisfy human needs. Is there anything you would add, subtract, or change about that definition of regenerative cryptoeconomics, economics that hits human needs?
That's an amazing definition. And I think we should definitely meme regions instead of visions. I think regions is a much better philosophy and attitude and spirit than the visions that have been, leading the narrative around DeFi the last couple of years.
Yes, well, you have done your small part in helping us meme regen into existence by appearing on the Regenerative Cryptoeconomics podcast. So, Santi Siri, founder of Proof of Humanity, thanks so much for joining me today. This podcast will be released in February, so looking forward to memeing that forward together when that happens. Where can people find you online in the meantime?
I'm at Santi Siri, pretty much everywhere. And I spend a lot of time on Twitter. I like to troll and hang out there. Please come say hi. If you're a friend of Kevin, you're a friend of mine.
Amazing. All right. Thanks so much, Santi. Great to have you.
My pleasure, my friend.